A key component of the modern world economy, the chemical industry delivers products and innovations to enhance everyday life. It is also an industry in transformation, where chemical executives and workers are delivering growth and industry-changing advancements while responding to pressures from investors, regulators, and public opinion. Discover how leading companies are approaching these challenges here on The Chemical Show. Join Victoria Meyer, president of Progressio Global and host of The Chemical Show, as she speaks with executives across the industry and learns how they are leading their companies to grow, transform, and push industry boundaries on all frontiers. Here's your host, Victoria Meyer.
Hi, I'm Victoria Meyer. Welcome back to The Chemical Show. This week, I am speaking with Jaycie Bradshaw, who is the Human Resources Director at Palmer Holland. Palmer Holland, you may know, is an employee-owned organization in the specialty chemical industry. And they really focus on driving strategic partnerships and business results and empowering their employees to be successful. And Jaycie comes to us with a human resources background, which is just a bit of a different switch from what we normally talk to people about. So we're going to get some insights about people and employees and all the things going on right now. So Jaycie, welcome to The Chemical Show.
Thank you, Victoria. I'm happy to be here.
Glad to have you here. So tell us, what is your origin story? What actually got you interested in HR and what brought you to Palmer Holland?
Yeah, I was leaving my undergrad in Ohio University and actually, and interestingly enough, had started in more of the public relations and communications space, and quickly realized that, I just have a passion for people. And I wasn't going to be happy if I wasn't involving and centering my career around helping other individuals grow. So, human resources was a logical path forward for me, and really found value in getting to know professionals and their career and their career development aspirations, and the talent acquisition side of the business. So, really kind of launched into a background in firm and corporate talent acquisition, and getting to know what people are looking for in their careers, and thought, well, I'm just not satisfied with this as well. So kind of, branched into more of a general HR and passion for supporting the workforce in some different ways. Have had some experience in training and development, and what goes into really developing your workforce, and making them the best versions of themselves that they can be, and ultimately settling on wanting to lead. So as fate would have it, found my way to Palmer Holland and realized that there was a whole other side to being in the specialty chemical space, and being a part of an ESOP. We're an employee-owned organization, and so happy to say that I have started learning since day one of coming to Palmer Holland, and continue to learn as I support the business and our workforce in my role.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Palmer Holland's a great company. So you've landed well in the chemical industry.
We are, very unique. We're special. And I'm sure you hear that from a lot of people. I'm absolutely biased, but our people are absolutely the best. And we, as an organization, we are doing wonderful things, and we're growing and we're thriving. So I couldn't be happier.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you joined Palmer Holland during the pandemic, which of course was a really popular time for people to change companies, right? We heard a lot about that. But I would imagine it's also a really difficult time, both to recruit people, to join new companies when workplace norms were so different. And I think we're probably still evolving, right? So they had transitioned, we're transitioning again. Yeah. What was it like to make a significant change during that time?
Scary, right? Scary, exciting, all of the things. You have, being in human resources and going through a pandemic is a different version of fun.
I bet.
Even, even for all of us in human resources, and I do think that it really, put the human back into HR a bit, and recognizing that employees were going through challenging times, businesses were going through challenging times, and what we could do to just continue to navigate the changes in the market and make sure that employees felt supported as we did so. And I think myself making the change, it actually was such a perfect time to make the jump, because I think organizations like Palmer Holland are, we were all kind of testing ourselves and saying, hey, the way that we were doing business before might need to continue to evolve and grow. And it really was just that push off point that helped continue to propel us forward. And I think since then we've made a lot of big positive strides that have positioned us very well as we've been growing. So
so let's talk about that maybe a little bit. Like how have some of those learnings influenced you in terms of how you guide recruitment and the onboarding of other employees or employees as you bring into Palmer Holland?
I think that one of the key themes that we've learned and adapted, as many organizations have, is flexibility. And questioning the notion of, hey, how you did work previously has continued to adapt and evolved, and continuing to lead the way on challenging ourselves to what used to be the way in which that we did work might need to change. And I'm happy to say that I think that we've done a lot to invest in new technology and process improvements and continuous improvement for our business. I think that, one of the things that we've noticed is just this, evolutionary flow from what was traditional work-life balance to more of work-life blend. And, with the pandemic, you have people that want it all. They want to work for a wonderful organization that cares about the same things they care about, and still, not lose sight of why they come to work every day and their personal goals and aspirations. So I'm happy, I think we do a really great job of supporting that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So I know that, obviously, in fact, you're remotely located, or at least you're in Nashville, and most of the companies in Ohio. So obviously, making remote work is one of the things. What do you see? And I think if we go back over the past couple of years, there was a lot of different, flexibility. So people were either fully remote or, heck, working from all kinds of places when their office was, in Poughkeepsie, but they might be in Miami or what have you. What do you actually see sticking around post-pandemic, right? Because I feel like we've gone back into this, well, let's bring people back into the office, bring them back into the office part-time, or trying to normalize back to the old norms, which it's hard to do once you've, let the cat out of the bag, so to speak. What's actually sticking around? What are the practices that we integrated that do you see really sticking around post-pandemic?
I think the good news is that we've proven to ourselves, right? Palmer Holland and many organizations have proven to ourselves that, hey, our traditional view on what constitutes work location and how we accomplish work can be tested to the limits. And, not uniquely to our circumstance, a lot of organizations have had to invest in technology and resources in order to, keep that continuity of work, which I'm happy to say Palmer Holland is certainly an environment that's done so. But, what we also are noticing a pendulum shift on is the fact that, hey, it really boils down to collaboration and having that blend of, remote based work, and then also not losing sight of the personal touch, which is so near and dear to our business. And I sense the hybrid model is here to stay. And, there is a lot of discussion over, work schedules and work week, and, keeping up with the news, there seems to be different flavors depending on, when you read it. But, what we're finding is it's really about hiring great talent and continuing to invest in them and creating an environment where collaboration can still happen and in what capacity it needs to happen. So for right now, we are in a hybrid work environment. It seems to be working really well for us. As you mentioned, I am remote. I do think we have some remote-based employees, and there are certain roles, where that is still achieves the collaboration needed. But I do think that, ultimately it just settles back on, hey, how are we collaborating?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, and it's what's interesting about the pandemic is that, we've really highlighted this in the past 3 years, hybrid work from home, et cetera. And I mean, I go back 15, 20 years ago, earlier in my career when I was at Shell. I mean, we effectively had hybrid work. I was working globally. The majority of my team was outside of the US. And so I was, you get used to working on the phone with them or over, well, and heck, we had Teams, but we didn't do video calls, right? I mean, nobody wanted to turn on their video. Now video has become a norm. Some days I wish it wasn't, but video has become a norm. Yeah, exactly. And so I think many companies have figured this out for a long time. It's just got a much bigger focus now. And at the end of the day, you're right, collaboration is key, and figuring out how to bring people together at the right moments to get the most out of them together is critical.
Yep.
Yeah. So how about, I think the chemical industry often has a challenge in bringing people in, right? I mean, it's not glamorous. When you look at a company like Palmer Holland and distribution, people don't understand distribution. And it just makes it harder. It seems like it does make it harder. Mm-hmm. How do you create a robust employee value proposition that makes it attractive to bring people in?
One of the things that I really had surface level knowledge of until I've more intimately supported and been a part of Palmer Holland is the fact that we are an ESOP and what it means to be employee owned. And coming on board, I, really had no idea about the jackpot that I had just hit. And not just the fact that ESOPs are a wonderful opportunity to gain long-term wealth and invest in yourself and your future, but to be a part of an organization that's as invested as you are, to work alongside other employees that feel empowered and see the value that their work brings to the good of all, right? At Palmer Holland, we are all owners of Palmer Holland. And, that isn't just in a lucrative benefit, but it's in the way that we work and the way that we partner together and the passion that we bring. And it is hard to, I don't want to say that we don't have challenging climate externally, but I think, what resonates with that is people come to work every day and work more than they're with the people that matter most. And they want to feel that they're a part of something that's aligned with, what they believe in, and they want to feel invested in and like they're growing. And so if you focus on that nugget and say, okay, how can we position ourselves to really bring that to people and attract the talent that we need to keep growing forward then in return? And, we've made really great strides with that. And some of the, I would say, more positive side effects of that. And, we've had a great increase in financial literacy in some of our employee base and what it means to be employee owned. It's expanded our community outreach and our willingness to give back. And ultimately, invest back into the business so we can be a better partner to our principals and our customers. So, I can't say enough about our journey to employee ownership. It's been wonderful.
That's cool. All right. So I'm going to ask you to just give me a little definition here, because I think some people may not know. So ESOP is employee stock ownership plan, right?
Yeah.
What does that actually mean? Because I think that's new or just unknown by a lot of people in terms of what that really means and how it works.
Yes. So it's in a type of employee-owned organization, which in a nutshell, Palmer Holland is owned by a trust on the, at the benefit of our employees. So it really is a wonderful retirement and wealth generating benefit. It's a retirement benefit that employees get just by merely being an employee at Palmer Holland. So, one of the things that is very attractive about being an ESOP is similar to like a 401k where you get to build long-term savings. They get to do so just by coming to work every day and, doing their
So your
job.
so your shares grow as
Yeah.
the longer that you're employed or what have you.
Yep, it's on a vesting
Yeah.
schedule, very similar to like a 401k, and it grows wealth while they're employed. And certainly, it's a lot more than just a benefit, though, because I think that it's a way with which we commit to running our business and investing back in our business. And from an external standpoint, as our partners would potentially listen to this and say, okay, what does that mean for us? It
Yeah.
means that we are absolutely investing resources into our organization. We are investing in people that are excited to be here and are motivated to provide value to the business. And so I think, all around, we're still even today learning what it means to be an ESOP, but it's a very exciting thing to be a part of, and it brings us all together for sure.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely unique in the industry because there's not too many.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. And, in the chemical space itself, I think you even have a smaller size pool, but
Yeah.
I believe there's around 6,500 ESOPs that were active and alive last year. So definitely a wonderful, unique benefit that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So when we look at where we are today, right? So there's a lot of economic uncertainty between inflation, rising interest rates, softening market demand, and then maybe tightening market demand because that seems to ebb and flow, as we all know. Layoffs in various industries. It seems like every day, especially in the tech industry, we're hearing a lot, but we're also seeing it in the chemical industry. Companies like Palmer Holland, though, continue to hire and need the resources to support the business. How do you balance that? How do you balance growth from a business, from an employee perspective, with an uncertain economic future? Because it's certainly uncertain at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that there's a balance there, and making sure that our eyes are set on the future and the goals and objectives for the long term for our business and for our partners. I think that you definitely want to continue to invest in the business and put us in a position where we can continue to grow and reach those goals, but not doing so without maybe taking a level of calculated risk. Right at the end of the day, I think that we look at this as a short-term economic situation that we certainly want to be cognizant of and plan through, but not at the detriment of where we want to keep going long term.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it is a balancing act, and I like what you said about it's a calculated risk, right? So you have to risk manage it just like you would anything else.
Yeah. And, with the introduction to Vince Masidi, our new CEO, into the business, one of the things that we definitely are strengthening is some of our approach to risk management. I think that there's a lot that he brings from his experience in the chemical industry, where he has some best practices that, he's testing some of how we've done things traditionally and seeing where, it makes sense to continue in the way that we have historically been doing things, and maybe some areas that we can continue to strengthen. And, I definitely already in the short time that we've had him seen such a positive impact with his leadership. I think that we've done a lot to invest in sustainability efforts and ways in which that we can continue to be work smarter as a business for the future, which I think is important, and ultimately continuing to invest in our people, and ways to keep developing them. At the end of the day, they're, arguably, maybe not arguably, our greatest asset. And we want to make sure that they feel supported even through some of the more challenging economic times.
Yeah, absolutely. What's interesting with that, and it's we've moved past a lot of the supply constraints, right?
Yeah.
In the industry. How has your training and development evolved, right? So I think the relationship between buyers and sellers, between your partners, your customers, and Palmer Holland is evolving, obviously. How are you guys leveraging training and development to help sellers move beyond maybe supply discussions where it's like, sorry, there is no supply, which was the case for a long time, into more of a collaborative value selling approach? What do you see with that?
Well, I'll start by saying that I think that we do a wonderful job of always focusing on training and development. As soon as you stop focusing on that, people aren't growing and aren't learning. And I think that that's one thing that we've proven time and time and again, which is there's always room to keep investing in our people. We actually brought all of our leadership together at the turn of 2022 and had a leadership summit where our senior minds and leaders of the business got together and really brainstormed and said, hey, what are our key initiatives? Where within our training and development platform can we continue to invest? And just work cross-functionally to get more ideas. This isn't an HR only charge. I think that we really are focused on driving work to those that are closest and most knowledgeable about it. So who better to talk through some of the training and development needs than our functional leaders? So that has been really wonderful. We've invested in leadership training. So we did some great work with intent-based leadership and, really trying to empower our leaders to be even better versions of themselves. So I think, that has been wonderful because, building your succession pipeline and ensuring that you continue to pave the way for future leaders is really important to the sustainability of the business. And then finally, how we, harness, we talked about attracting the talent, but how we harness the, the future talent that we are bringing into the business and get them excited about our ESOP and emerged in Palmer Holland culture and what makes us so special. And I think, we've got a lot of good stuff brewing with development programs and, just different types of development initiatives that really kind of continue to propel us forward since we had that leadership summit last year. So it's a good time. There's a lot of work to do though.
Yeah. The work never stops, which I guess is
Never
a good thing
stops.
and a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So, one of the things that's been in the spotlight a lot for the industry, obviously, is sustainability. It's a huge focus. Yeah. Chemicals and chemical companies are not always well understood. And then certainly in Ohio, which is where a biggest base of your operation is, the train derailment that happened in early February has increased a lot of the negative coverage, right? So we've all heard and seen this negative coverage. Has it made it harder to recruit or retain people? How does that influence your people?
I couldn't agree more. I think there is, not always unforeseen events such as the unfortunate train accident is obviously not something that we could have predicted and have had to work around. But I think one of the things that we continue to do and push forward on is, hey, our business is going to continue to act ethically and aligned with our core values and our code of ethics and what makes Palmer Holland a wonderful place to work and partner to work with. And if we continue to have strides in sustainability that are centered around who we want to be as a company and what we believe in, then that will continue to push forward through some of maybe the other external forces at play. I do think that we we've invested a lot in sustainability in recent years. We have, continued to strive to be an ISO certified organization through our certification in EcoVadis. We have a really core cross-functional team through compliance, our commercial team, some of our marketing leadership. Obviously HR has a portion in that, and how we handle compliance with our workforce, where we all have a part to play in sustainability. And I think that we've made a lot of positive strides there. We also, even everything down to replacing our paper cups with ceramic mugs. I think there's always an area where you can continue to look for ways to improve. And we've been committed to doing that. So I feel great about our sustainability efforts.
Yeah, that's interesting. So as you guys look to recruit younger employees, I'll say, recent college grads, maybe not directly from college, but certainly like in the first 5 to 10 years, millennials and Gen Z. Well, yeah, Gen Z, I guess we're getting into.
Yeah.
What are they looking for? I mean, I think what are their priorities? Because I think this is sometimes a mystery, and we all have an opinion on it. But what are they really looking for in companies that they're going to?
So, I touched on that collaboration and just the notion that, what does it mean to collaborate and be connected with each other? Continuing to expand the boundaries of what partnership means, both internally and externally in every form. Employees are looking for ways that they can connect and find camaraderie in each other, whether remote or in person. Employees are looking for ways in which they can feel and see the value that they're bringing and say, hey, the work that I'm doing today matters. And focusing on how we can continue to provide engagement opportunities or ways in which they can feel invested in a part of Palmer Holland is definitely something that I think that they're after, and not stopping there and saying, hey, yeah, I really love being a part of Palmer Holland and my needs are being met, but what is Palmer Holland doing for others? And, how are they giving back? How are we being better strategic partners to some of our principals and our customers? And, what are the ways in which we are affecting our community and, positively? I think they're after that. They want to see that, and they want to see, not just lip service, but they want to see an organization that's doing it, that's acting on that. Last week, it's just, timing's everything, right? But last week we had a Palmer Holland Day of Service where our workforce, either in person or remote, was given opportunities to give back to the community. We do, we had some a food bank organization, Laura's Home, and it really gave employees an opportunity to unplug maybe from the day-to-day responsibilities that they always, do, and say, hey, I'm going to just take a moment with my colleagues and give back while we're doing it. And I think that's important because, it's all a blend, but, people are really looking for an organization where they can have it all.
Yeah. Yes, they are. I think we all are. That's actually a good summary, right?
I know I am, right? Listen, Palmer Holland might not be perfect, but we've got some great people, and I think we're doing some really exciting things. And I just feel so blessed that I get to be part of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, and that maybe is a good place to kind of start wrapping up. So what's next for you in Palmer Holland? Where, when you look ahead at 2023, what's on your priority list and what should we be expecting?
Yeah, well, I mentioned Vince, our new leader, is aboard. And I think that, one of the things that we've continued to do, with his leadership is to continue to invest in our strategy forward. And, where do we want to be in 5 years, 10 years, long term, and what are our goals as a business, and how can we lead in that direction? And so we've been really undergoing some exciting work there. I think that we've continued to invest in some new external partnerships, and with everything in the economic uncertainty, I see our teams and the relationships they're building on and the business they're bringing in, and I'm just so excited to continue to get to grow our outreach in the specialty chemical space. And we are still investing and we are still hiring. I know that you mentioned that, but while obviously an eye on the future and wanting to ensure profitable growth to continue to meet our goals, it's still there's a lot of exciting fun on the table for HR. We are still growing like crazy and looking for new employees, and certainly that means investing in resources to make sure that we continue to get there. So
awesome. That's exciting. Well, Jaycie, thank you so much for joining me today. I've enjoyed speaking with you and getting to know more about you and Palmer Holland and some of the great things that you guys are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite, Victoria, and certainly it's been a pleasure getting to talk with you. Your reputation precedes you. I know that you've partnered with several of others in the industry, and it's wonderful that you create this platform that others can, share ideas and learn from each other. So it's been a privilege to get to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. Thanks for joining me today. And thanks everyone for listening to The Chemical Show. Keep listening, keep liking, keep sharing and following, and we will talk to you again next week.
We've come to the end of today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed your time with us and want to learn more. Simply visit thechemicalshow.com for additional information and helpful resources. Join us again next time here on The Chemical Show with Victoria Meyer.